You're listening to the Aha Moments of Success podcast, an audio journey to your success.
And welcome to Aha Moments to Success podcast. I'm your host, Anita Heidema. This podcast is about helping you stop stressing and start successing. Successful entrepreneurs share their life and business events and aha moments that have transformed their lives into their dreams. Top of the morning to everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Aha Moments to Success podcast. This time of year is always a little bit challenging with the time of the summer phasing out and the fall coming in. We get back to routines and there's a little bit of sadness, but a little bit of happiness as well, and anxiousness of what's going to become. We go back to the routines of work. We go back to the routines as the children go back to school. And, it's kind of exciting because we want to create those habits and those things and those plans that we want to be able to move forward and bring routine back in. But the summer is always so enjoyable with the nice weather and being around those with friends and family and taking holidays. So, focus on what it is that you're wanting in your life right now and download our Rich Life and Biz free goal-setting template for you to be able to use, because it will help you strategize and be able to put some of those steps in place to bring those things on that you're really wanting in your life. So today, for today's episode, we've got Jan Frolic on the line, and she is a serial entrepreneur, an incredible lady, just so much energy, so much positivity, and she's done so much change in her life. For the last 20 years, she's been in media and advertising industry, but she's really honed in on her skills and her entrepreneurial skills in the last 5.5 years, as Vice President of Women of Influence Worldwide and co-founder of Boy Project, which we're going to get in a little bit more in depth throughout the interview. Jan's second love and passion is connecting with people, building relationships, and, living a full life. And that's what she really is really important to her. She strives to live her life with kindness. She's raising a beautiful, happy, healthy family and bringing social awareness to children, her own and also those out there. And that's really important to her. And also living with integrity and laughing lots, which she does. And you can tell by her picture. And if you get the joy of meeting her, you'll see that in her face and everything that she creates and that she does. So I hope you enjoy today's episode with Jan Frolic, and as much as I did, and we'll see you on the other side. Hi, Jan. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So today we have Jan Frolic, and she's the Vice President of Women of Influence, plus many other things that you're doing as well.
I am. I'm a busy, busy woman.
I really enjoyed meeting you yesterday at the Women of Influence conference that you had. It was 25 years that they've been going at it.
Yes, we are a quarter of a century old and doing all the good stuff, advancing women in the workplace.
There was tons and tons of people there. There was over 600 or so, wasn't there?
I think there was somewhere between 500 and 600. Yeah, something like that. It was a big room.
Yeah. And meeting Tina Brown was wonderful. What an inspiring woman.
She was incredible. She was just so open to conversation with everybody. You could tell she was a journalist at heart. She was asking questions with everybody that she spoke to. She was engaged. She wasn't just showing up. She showed up and was interested.
Well, I remember being with you in the VIP room, and thank you very much for the invite. And standing at the table, and all of a sudden she just kind of walked straight over and said, "Hello, everyone."
She showed up out of nowhere. It was fabulous. She was a remarkable, and no question, a career highlight for me and a few of the women that I work with.
Yeah, it was a beautiful event and well organized and great. So I think it's great things that you're doing there for sure.
Thank you.
There's many things you're doing. I know that 16 years you're with the magazine network. You're the VP of Women of Influence. You got the Boy Project going on. There's just so many wonderful things that are happening. Can you explain a little bit more?
About how insane my life is? Sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
That's all the energy that you have.
Okay. Well, Magazine Network is my company. I actually bought this. It was a media sales company in January of 2000. I had been there for a couple of years, so I've been there a long time now, and it ran it was a big sales agency for until about 2000 and I don't know, whenever the market crashed, 2007, 2010, somewhere in there. And I sort of ran it into the ground, as you do when you are in print media. Mm-hmm. And that was the time, right? So I held on to the name, and I moved into more of a consultant role for companies. And I had built my own company. And within that company, I had built a number of companies. And then I had, so I decided that I'll just hold on to the name and take my skills to somewhere else. And then I went with Women of Influence, and I just finishing about 5.5 years with them right now, as a consultant and a business builder for them. And in doing this, I have, I see some gaps. I see some gaps in the gender space. So myself and a partner have built out a new company called Boy Project. And Boy Project is an organization that's building in-school and what will be also corporate, but in-school curriculum around masculinity, and specifically around sort of breaking down and removing the barriers and limitations that we have placed already on traditional masculinity. So I'm busy doing that. We're building out full curriculum starting in grade 3, going through until the end of high school. And that should launch in a month or so. And we'll be looking for pilot schools. We're looking for feedback. It's very much something that could go global, no question. But we need help. We need people to buy into this and help us move this forward. So I'm doing that. And on top of all of that, I have 3 fabulous children.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are the children?
I have a 17-year-old, 15-year-old, and 11-year-old.
Wow, you got your hands full.
I do.
So how do you juggle it all? I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on there.
How do I juggle it? I would say I'm not really super great at juggling. I don't know. I think I've just learned how to fit everything in, and I'm really good at prioritizing. Probably the most important thing I do is I journal and I keep a calendar. And that's pretty much the only way that I stay on track.
Mm-hmm. Because you've got a lot of things on your plate, and the energy that I saw that you had yesterday at the event, moving around, making sure everything's all organized, meeting and greeting with people. I mean, that takes a lot of energy and a lot of work, and then to have 3 kids on top of it. So
I am a high energy person. There is no question. But when I crash hard. Yeah. That I promise you.
You better take some time for yourself.
That's this year. I'm definitely building that into my schedule.
I'm going to send you one of my meditations.
That probably won't happen.
No, you won't do it?
No, it requires sitting still. No.
Well, actually, my free one is only 5 minutes. So I'm going to send it to you, and I'm going to say, just give yourself 5 minutes.
All right.
And it will calm your mind. No, I run around like you too. I remember, even when I was working in corporate, I'd be working a full-time job, and I always had something, like I was teaching at Ryerson, or I was, there was always a million things going on, but I always really enjoyed that 5 minutes or so, or if you could get 30, that was great, but it didn't always happen, of time just to decompress, Yeah. And, but you're doing well in whatever you're doing, because you're successful in what you're doing, and rolling out this new project sounds really, really interesting as well. So the Boy Project, what is all about? Like, what schools are you in? How long is this class? Is it like 1 day a week? Is it 1 day for the whole season? Like, what's all involved?
No, it's, well, first of all, we're not in schools yet. We're just putting an ask out for diversity leaders to check our language.
Perfect.
We want to make sure that we are absolutely inclusive. And then what we will be doing is going to schools that we know are a little bit further ahead in the diversity and inclusion space, and that are open to new learning. But it is an integrated curriculum. The curriculum itself is called Captains and Poets, and it's archetype based, which is the captain and the poet are both archetypes. And it's rooted, it has a human agenda. So although we're targeting working with ideas around masculinity, we're not targeting necessarily just boys to understand themselves. We need a better understanding of masculinity from both boys and girls. Because as we are seeing now as men and women, there's definitely, it's not going so well all the time. So if we can get into schools and sort of have conversations on how you act and being accountable for your actions, and really it's about knowing yourself when you're a leader, and that would be the captain, when you can be a poet and be more thoughtful and empathetic and compassionate, and understand that in order to be a good person, you need to engage both the captain and the poet within you. And that's not a boy thing. It's not a girl thing. This is a human thing. And also being okay to do that. Being okay to be compassionate and empathetic. Feeling like you're allowed to do that. And I suppose that's where we get into things like boys aren't traditionally taught that it's okay to do that. And we want boys and girls to know that it is okay and it's required. And that will make them better leaders in their life. So when they do become a captain, they have a captain opportunity in their life, that they are pulling from both the captain and the poet to be the best leader that they can be. But it's also about giving your peers permission to access those things in themselves and making it okay and recognizing that in your friends.
Yeah. It's a very interesting concept how you have, the captain and the poet and how you explain it. Because to me, when I hear that, exactly what you said, I hear that in the female and the male space, right? Mm-hmm. And it's so needed. So many times, the male will not talk about their sensitive side. They will not want to show that. They want to be tough. They don't want to show emotion. They don't want to cry. That means that they're weak. And as we know, as individuals that are stronger, that brings us to our strength. When we're able to open up the softer side, the poet side, to really understand who we are as individuals and who other people are as individuals, it opens up a whole new world to understanding people, cultures, religions, anything across the board. And I think it's fascinating. When you just said that, it made it all clear to me. It just opened it up. When you were saying boy project, and I was trying to understand all the concepts, and I was dying to hear what you were going to say today. But that just opens up a whole new can. But it's for men and women, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it will be for men and women, but right now it's for boys and girls. And I really want to make that clear in that we've done a lot of great work, and it's critical and it's ongoing and it's necessary in so many parts of the world on the girl power and owning the sisterhood. And girls feel proud to be girls right now, in here anyways, right? Mm-hmm. We've taken away the word boy.
It's very true. Yeah.
So we need to do that same kind of work. And this isn't at all about boy power. This is about letting them own their childhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
And giving them the tools to do so in a beautiful kind of way.
Yeah, I really like that. I think there's been such a switch in society lately. So, I think too, when I first started in the paper industry, there wasn't very many women and it was very male dominated. And now there's so much more of a domination of women with the Me Too and all that's happening there. And like you said, some of that is getting lost out there because there's so many of these girls groups, there's these events, and it's becoming less and less on the male side for sure.
And boys are being blamed for men's behaviors.
Yeah.
And I have boys, and that is not okay.
Yeah.
Because we're creating a system of blame. Mm-hmm. And that only creates anger. And, things just get worse with that.
Anger and judgment. You get judged before you even have done anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell a story without sort of saying who it is here, but I know somebody that always wanted to have equality in their business, and they would actually make sure that it was half and half, male and female, because they really felt that there was a strength in both areas, and it was needed in both areas to have a well-rounded group within them. And this individual now has, in the last few years, has been so targeted and in comments, not really targeted, but brought up in comments about female equality, and that no one does anything with female equality, and all of a sudden been lumped into this new way of thinking, as you, I guess I'm trying to think of the word that you said, where boys don't necessarily and men don't get the credibility for the stuff that they have done, right? And lumped into that one sum of the negative stuff that's out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there are a lot of amazing men out there, but that's not my focus. My focus is really the holistic human agenda around kindness and for youth. Because the truth is, I don't think I'm going to be able to change minds, but I definitely can have an impact in building new ones.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. That should be your phrase. Because it's important, right? And I think you are going to make a huge impact. I mean, you have a voice, you have a mission, you have a know-how in what you're doing, so you can make a huge difference. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing.
Thank you. The one thing I have learned from having such an amazing experience with women of influence and the women's networks that surround us, obviously have a big impact on me as well, is that you can have influence as an individual. Even if you're only influencing one other person, or 10 or 100, or in, women of influence case, hundreds of thousands, you do what you can.
Yep. Yeah. That's so true. And a lot of people, they think it's too overwhelming and they're not going to make a difference. And I think you're right. It's very important to speak your mind and speak what you believe in, and your voice will make that difference, right?
That's what I'm hoping. It's scary, right?
Yeah.
It's a scary thing to do, especially in the diversity space, because I'm never going to be an expert in everything, right? And there's someone that's always going to find fault with something. That's going to be tough. That's because I'm one person. In this case, we're two people just trying to do the very best we can do. And we're completely open to constructive criticism. We're open to partnering. We're open to pretty much everything because we need that help. But it's scary because we know something's going to be said that we're not going to be able to defend properly, But
that's the way, unfortunately, the way society is sometimes. And you recognizing that and knowing that is going to make you that much stronger in that space, right? And it was yesterday I heard this. I think it was Tina and Lainey that brought this up. We were having a conversation that change is difficult. And sometimes when you stir things up, those are the kind of things that come up. And people sometimes don't have anything better to say. And it's a really unfortunate. But I think you're making a positive difference. And that's the most important thing, right?
I do love to stir things up.
Yeah. I love it. So the big question, everything that you're doing, you're working with women of influence, you're doing, the magazine network, you're doing advertising, media, all this stuff. And now Boy Project, what was your aha moment? Why did this all come about?
So that happened in Jamaica on April 1st, 2012.
You remember everything, the date and all.
Well, it helps to journal.
Mm-hmm.
I have it. And the reason I have it is because it was something I had to look back on constantly for a few years, because I had to make a major life change. I'm no different than so many people, both men and women, that go through, the kind of life change in a marriage, my marriage broke down. It was a long marriage. I had 3 children. They were young. They're all of these things, but I crashed very hard. And I became somebody who I was uncomfortable with. I wasn't me. I was grief stricken. There was no question about that, but I had to move on because I was a good year into it. So my aha moment was I was basically buried in self-help books. That's the truth. I hate self-help books, but that was I was in bookstores all the time. I was grabbing them all off the shelves. And I was in Jamaica and I was reading one called The 21-Day Consciousness Cleanse. Okay, I never actually got through any of these books. I just had a lot of them. For some reason, buying them helped me.
It looks good in a library.
It looks ridiculous now, though. So looks like I really needed a lot of help. But this one I got to page, I think it was 86, and I was like, oh, I found something, right? I knew I had to change my life. I knew that I'm a happy person at the root, and I was not happy, and I knew I had to make some serious change. And there was a line in this book that said, desire is the most important catalyst for bringing about radical change. Right? So it forced me to write down all of my desires. And these desires were inner desires and outer desires. So inner being, how do I want to feel? And the outer desires were like, what do I want in my outside life? And it ends up, I wanted and desired 42 different kinds of things, including a dishwasher.
Wow. So, did you get the dishwasher?
Yes, eventually.
Okay.
But I wrote down everything. And then what I did was I circled the things that meant the most to me. Like, what did I really want? Like, what were my core things? And the dishwasher was not one of them. But what it came to was I wanted to build my family again. I wanted to have a home that welcomed friends, and I wanted those relationships back. I wanted to have good food in the house. I wanted this to be sort of a hub. I wanted to be happy in my professional life. I wanted to feel passion again. I wanted to feel love, right?
Yeah.
On a very big level. And so I broke this down, and it came down to two things. One was I needed to be kind at all costs, no matter what. I had to just flip that switch, and no matter what happened, I had to be kind.
Beautiful.
That's not as easy as you might think, especially when you're going through a breakup, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, that was a difficult journey, and it was a couple years long until it just became normal.
Beautiful.
But at the same time, there was the other thing was I needed to make money, because in order to invite people into my home and feed them good food and go on trips that were going to build new memories for my kids, like, I needed to make more money. Mm-hmm. I was on my own, right? Like, this was up to me now. And so I had to do that. So what happened was, when you're kind at all costs, things open for you. And that's what happened. And that's when Women of Influence came into my life, about a year and a half later, I would say. And this journey of kindness at all costs and being open to people and hearing their stories and really listening and creating this new happy for me, building my new story, opened up this door to just possibly the best work experience of my life.
Beautiful.
And that was building Women of Influence. So when I got there, I had these tools to build an extended community. And then women just came into my life, and I was building this network of just the most incredible people from all walks of life that you could possibly imagine. So that was my aha moment.
You know, it's just so beautiful hearing you say that, because, first of all, have you seen The Kindness Project?
No.
It's on Netflix. You have to watch it. It's about a gentleman, and I was just told about it on the weekend, that does these long journeys, and he can only do it through kindness of people offering things to him. Now he has money, but he can only be fed, get gas for his car, have accommodations by the kindness of people throughout North America. And I think he's gone into Europe. I've only seen the first episode. And it's really quite interesting to watch. And I think, I know this kindness that you talk about, it spreads.
It does.
And that's why the more kindness you bring, it comes back to you. And I think it's fascinating. And in today's society, you know, I just know from myself, from my clients, that people go out there and they want to be kind and do things, and then something hits them. And like you said, you know, going through the divorce and all this kind of stuff, it's difficult to offer kindness in those moments. And to be able to do that, that brings you to forgiveness, right? To be kind, you have to allow that to go, and to forgive some of those things, and to let that stuff go, and to be able to create kindness around it. That is a real next level in life, and not to be tarnished by it. And I think that's fascinating that you've gone through, and that's a huge aha moment. I think that's incredible.
It was very big. It was very big. And I'm so thankful that I had the ability to keep going back to it, and possibly because I journal and because I wrote it down. And I took some of it and I framed it, and it's in my bathroom. So every single day I see it's a reminder of things that make me a better person.
Yeah.
It was an important day for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's interesting you talk about, you know, and a lot of people call it their why, and, you know, you've put it into what do you desire, and it's turned into your why, right? When you do your internal and external desires, it tells you who you are and what you want in life. And sometimes it summarizes as the same thing. I call it your root success. So you'll see it in my book and other things. It talks about your root success and what roots you into the ground and what's most important. And for you to build your family, you know, that's a core thing that brings such happiness, right? And you can hear it in your voice when you were saying it. And then at the end of the day, you do have to monetize. You want to be able to, you know, have these things in your life, because that's important as an external desire as well. And you can provide for your family. And there's so much more you can do when you're earning money, because, you know, sometimes people think of it as a negative thing. Oh, money's dirty or whatever. But look how much you can give. Like now you're doing, you know, the Boy Project. There's so much around that you can give back in being able to do that.
Definitely. It is important. I mean, you don't have to make a lot. You just have to be able to sustain your life and build opportunities for your family.
And even if you did make a lot, it doesn't really, it shouldn't be thought of as a bad thing, right?
Totally.
Because you can do so much more with that to help others. Doesn't mean you can live still within your means and how you want to, but I think it's an energy, it's a flow. It's like kindness, you know, you give it, it comes back to you. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it. This has gotten to be a lot more than I was expecting. This is great, Jan.
Oh, well, I'm really glad.
So I know we've got 5 minutes left here, and I love to get what your 3 tips would be. Now, a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs or they're executives, and I love how you've been able to turn your life around and become so successful in what you're doing. What 3 tips would you give to the listeners?
I guess in keeping with what I was just saying, my very first tip would be that it's never too late to rebuild and revise on an ongoing basis, and stay, you know, really try to figure out your core values and stay aligned with them. So the first thing would be, it's never too late to rebuild. Build your own story. It's your story to have. Just keep saying it over and over, and you will get there. So that would be the first thing.
Beautiful.
The second thing is recognizing that, and this was huge for me also, everybody wants to connect. Everybody. There is we have this desire to connect, but people aren't very good at it. They're shy or scared. There's a lot of fear. They're not confident. They feel like they aren't good enough, all of these things. But if you can just take the time to connect with people, you will reap so many benefits, and your life will be so much better for it. So just put yourself out there and connect. And the third thing would be, in doing this, find your people. Find your, I know you say it all the time, but find your tribe, so to speak, and lift each other up at whatever it takes. Lift, push, pull, do whatever you need to do to help these people who help you move forward in their lives too.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting when you say about connect. I find that so many people are becoming so siloed. I mean, I've spoken about this before. I don't know if you've ever heard of Faith Popcorn, the
Yeah.
Popcorn Report.
Yeah.
I think I read that when I was in my 20s, 5 years ago. And I've talked about it before, and she talked about cocooning. And I find more and more we're becoming very siloed and cocooning. And even with some of the organizations out there, you know, you go and you'll say your piece and what you do, but there's really no extension of that connection that goes any further. And I believe that social media has done it, society has done it, corporations are doing it, and there's a lot of talk about connecting, and it hasn't really happened. So I think it's so important what you said there to make sure you connect again. Families even. I mean, that's one of the reasons, you know, Passion is Cooking that we do is come together. It's to bring families and break bread again together as friends and families. And some of it's getting lost out there. And I think that's amazing to talk about that.
Yeah, and it's so worth it. And it's not always easy, and it can be hard work, but I promise you, it is so worth it. It'll fill your life.
Yeah. And I think some people, they get tarnished with something that happened, and they make a generality that maybe this tribe is not for them, but they think all of them are going to be like that. And it's right. You need to find your tribe, you know, what resonates with you, you know, the people that can support you and you can support them. So I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. It was so wonderful chatting with you. And, you know, I'd love to maybe get an interview going in another year or so. I know we're going to be talking in between that, but, you know, just sort of see how, you know, Boy Project's doing, how everything else is going. And this kindness project, I think, is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's worked so far. I'm pretty happy in my life. I've got everything that I need. There's no question about that.
I am so honored to have met you and being involved with you now. And thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you for your time. It was fun.
And you have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye, Jan. And that's it for today's episode of Aha Moments for Success podcast. Thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate all your comments and all you do. And as a thank you, I want to offer you our Rich Life and Business download. It helps you get clear and focus so you can sit down and really focus and plan what that is that you want in your life and business. Be the author of your life. You go to AnitaHeidema.com/richlife. AnitaHeidema.com/rich, RICHLIFE, one word. It's a free download for you and a thank you. Again, I'd love all your comments, anything you'd like to share, or any way in social media that you can bring this to other people that might get any kind of insight and help from these podcasts. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for joining my guest and me for this week's journey to success. I'm Anita Heidema. Talk to you next time. Ciao for now.